Do you feel like you're fumbling around with your bookkeeping because you don't really know what you're supposed to be tracking with your expenses? Well, watch until the end of this video because in it, I am going through my small business bookkeeping checklist. Now, I am so glad that you landed on my channel because on this channel, I show up every single week sharing tips on how to simplify your business in ways that most people aren't talking about. And I talk about how to get debt free even when you're a spender and how to do it all when you're a mom. So make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so that you find out every time a new video gets released. If you feel stressed about tracking your business expenses and also feel like you don't really have what it takes to get it done right, well, the good news is in this video, we are talking about what the IRS expects of you when it comes to tracking your expenses. I'm also going to go through step by step with my small business bookkeeping checklist on how to simplify tracking your expenses. This is a simplified method that I have proven over and over with my clients, and now it's your turn too. So first up, we are talking about what does the IRS expect from you when it comes to tracking your expenses. So there are 4 key elements that come into play when the IRS wants you to do this right. Now, first of all, understand that you do not need to have an education in accounting. You don't need to be a certified CPA or have any special training whatsoever to track your expenses right. You can do it with a super simple method that takes all the overwhelm out. So a lot of times we heap all of this worry and stress on us thinking that there's so much to do. But it comes down to this. The IRS expects you that it is your responsibility to be documenting your numbers, so your income, your expenses, things like that. They expect you to be accurate, so accurately documenting those. You also need to have supporting documentation. So what that means is things like receipts or invoices, copies of sales receipts where you've billed your customers, things like that. You need to have some type of documentation. And then if you were with me when we talked about Bookkeeping 101, you also know that there is a timeliness that the IRS expects you to document all of these things. So when it comes down to tracking your expenses, it's really important that you are tracking these and documenting them in some way, shape, or form within 1 week. And I know that's crazy, especially if you didn't listen to our last business training. That 1 week timeline is really something that the IRS places on you. It's not a law, but it is a general rule that they are looking for. And so if you're taking longer than a week and you happen to get audited, just expect that there's going to be repercussions for not meeting that timeliness factor. And that's why when I go in and work with my students inside the 5-minute bookkeeping method, we keep it so simple that you can get it done so fast that there's really no excuse not to do it. That way you're always meeting getting the numbers down, getting them down accurately, having your supporting documentation, and meeting that timeliness factor. So that is really as simple as it is when it comes to what the IRS is expecting of you. Now, I want to know, what are you guys using right now to track your expenses? If you can leave me a comment below, I would love to hear because there's so many tools out there. You may be wondering what kind of tools are going to help me do this easily. And that is in an upcoming video. So make sure to subscribe to this channel so you get notified when it comes out. But I will be talking about what my favorite tools are for tracking expenses and why that is. Now, the next thing that we're going to be talking about is my simple small business bookkeeping checklist. So this is when it comes to tracking your expenses. If you are wondering, I have no idea what to track or how to track, I've got you covered. So make sure you're writing these down. What you want to be documenting when you are tracking your expenses is, first of all, you want to track the date of the transaction. And you need to document the type of transaction. So not just expense tracking, but we also want to be tracking our income. So if you will mark whether it's an income or an expense, you're good to go right there. The next thing we're going to mark down is the payor or payee information. Now, if that was over your head, don't worry. All that means is if it is income, what's the person or business's name who paid you? If it's an expense, what is the company or individual's name that you paid? So document that down. The next thing that we're going to get down is the amount of the transaction. So you want to have this down to the penny, exactly what your receipt says, exactly what your bank statement says. We want all of these different areas to be matching up perfectly, because this is how we meet the accuracy factor when it comes to the IRS and what they're looking for. So make sure that your dollar amount is notated down. And then you also want to make sure that you are getting the purpose, the specific business purpose for that income or that expense. So if you if you had a party, if you're a home business and had a party and made some sales, then you want to document on there that these sales were for that particular party. If you were going out and buying ink at the store, then you need to write down that you bought cartridge ink, printer ink, to be able to print out sales receipts, something along those lines. Just making sure that you are specific and detailed in your business purpose, because that right there, if you are not doing that, automatically you will not qualify for business tax deductions when it comes for tax season. And we want to get the biggest tax refund possible, right? Well, this is how. And this is how you do it quickly, because you are already documenting that information down. And the last step of this is that you need to have proof of proper documentation. So what that means is if you have a receipt for a purchase, if you have an invoice, a copy of an invoice, whatever it is that proves not just the company's name that you bought it from, and not just the dollar amount and the date, but it needs, if possible, to have listed on there what the actual item was. So whether that's a SKU number, whether that's an abbreviation of what it was, but there needs to be some type of documentation on there. If it doesn't have it, it's not the end of the world, but this is why all these pieces are so important, because they're intertwined to prove that you really did make the purchase that you were claiming that you made. Does that make sense? So make sure to leave me a comment below if you have questions on that, if it's making sense, if you're like, yeah, I'm good to go, I get it, this makes it easy. Let me know all of that, because we can also dive in deeper into these if you have any additional questions whatsoever. Now that you know how to track your expenses easily, what tools to use, what the IRS is looking for, I want to ask you, did you know that 90% of home businesses are overpaying on taxes? And why is that? Well, it comes down to usually two reasons. One is they don't know what expenses are tax deductible, or two, they don't have the proper documentation or the proper record keeping system. So what I've put together for you is a free ultimate guide tax deduction cheat sheet that will give you around 60 examples of business expenses that are tax deductions, so that it will help you start catching those deductions that you may have been missing and help you get an even bigger refund next time. Also, if you want to join a community of like-minded people just like you, make sure that you check out my secret group where I share up-to-date advice on business, personal finance, and parenting to really help you balance navigating working and raising a family. So you can check out that link in the description below. And if you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you have anybody that you know that is a home business owner, small business owner, and they could benefit from this information, please share it with them, because you are doing them such a great service by helping them understand that bookkeeping and tracking expenses does not have to be difficult. And I'll see you in the next video.